The world stood still when it happened. One moment, the skies over the Pacific Ocean were clear and calm. The next, a streak of fire tore through the atmosphere, leaving behind a deafening roar that echoed across continents. It wasn't just any meteor or satellite falling from space. It was something far greater. A massive alien starship descended like a wounded beast, crashing into the ocean with such force that tidal waves surged toward nearby islands. Humanity had finally encountered extraterrestrial life, but not in the way anyone expected. News spread faster than wildfire. Within hours, every major network broadcasted live footage of the wreckage floating eerily above the water. The ship was enormous, easily dwarfing humanity's largest aircraft carriers. Its sleek metallic surface shimmered under the sunlight, reflecting hues of silver and gold. Yet despite its otherworldly beauty, there was an unsettling silence surrounding it. No signs of movement, no signals, just emptiness. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the news unfold from her small apartment in San Francisco, clutching a cup of coffee gone cold. As one of the world's leading aerospace engineers, she knew her phone would ring soon. And it did. Within minutes, she received a call summoning her to join an international team tasked with investigating the mysterious vessel. Without hesitation, she packed her bags and headed to the site. When Elena arrived, the scene was surreal. Helicopters buzzed overhead, dropping scientists and military personnel onto the partially submerged ship. The air smelled of salt water and burnt metal. Despite the chaos around her, Elena felt a strange sense of awe as she stepped inside the alien craft for the first time. The interior was vast, with smooth walls curved like liquid glass. Everything seemed impossibly clean. No dust, no scratches, nothing out of place. But then came the disappointment. Every control panel was dead. Every screen blank. Even the floors felt cold and lifeless beneath their boots. "It's stripped," muttered Dr. Marcus Lee, another expert on the team. "Whoever left this thing took everything useful." Elena didn't respond immediately. Something about the ship didn't sit right with her. She ran her fingers along the walls, feeling tiny grooves etched into the surface. At first glance, they looked like mere decorations, but upon closer inspection, they formed intricate patterns, symbols unlike anything she'd ever seen. Some glowed faintly when touched, pulsating like a heartbeat under specific wavelengths of light. "Wait," she whispered, pulling out her tablet to record the markings. "These aren't random designs. This is language. Or maybe math." Her discovery sent ripples of excitement through the group. Could these symbols hold the key to reactivating the ship? Or worse, could they be a warning? Whatever the case, one thing was certain. The aliens hadn't left this ship by accident. They had abandoned it. But why? As night fell, Elena sat alone in the dimly lit corridor, staring at the glowing patterns. Somewhere deep inside, she felt a spark of hope. If humanity could unlock the secrets hidden within this vessel, it might change everything. But as the hum of distant generators filled the silence, she couldn't shake the nagging thought. What if they weren't ready for what they'd find? Little did she know, the answers would come at a price, one that would test humanity's limits in ways no one could have imagined. The next morning, the research team gathered in a makeshift command center set up on the ship's main deck. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood at the front, her tablet glowing with images of the strange symbols she had discovered. The room buzzed with excitement and skepticism as scientists debated their significance. Some dismissed them as mere artistic flourishes, while others agreed with Elena that they might be the key to unlocking the ship's dormant systems. "This isn't just decoration," Elena insisted, pointing to one of the patterns on the screen. "Look at the symmetry, the repetition. It's mathematical. These symbols are tied to some kind of logic, maybe even quantum mechanics." Her words caught the attention of Dr. Raj Patel, a physicist known for his work on advanced energy theories. He leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. "If you're right, this could be more than language. It could be instructions. A guide to operating the ship." Elena nodded. "Exactly. But we'll need help decoding it. This isn't something we can do alone. Over the next few days, the team grew. Linguists, cryptographers, mathematicians, and engineers from around the world joined forces, each bringing their expertise to unravel the mystery. They worked tirelessly, mapping out the patterns and feeding data into supercomputers back on land. Slowly but surely, fragments of meaning began to emerge. One breakthrough came when a young linguist named Mylin noticed something peculiar. When certain symbols were overlaid onto a grid, they formed equations describing energy transfer and wave frequencies. "It's like music," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Each symbol represents a note in a cosmic symphony. As the team deciphered more sections of the code, small parts of the ship started responding. Panels lit up briefly before dimming again. Doors slid open only to close moments later. Once, an entire corridor hummed with power for nearly 10 minutes before falling silent once more. Each reaction brought both relief and unease. Were they making progress, or tampering with something dangerous? Then came the incident that changed everything. While examining a section of the wall, one of the team members, a technician named Alex Carter, accidentally activated a hidden compartment. Inside was a device unlike anything they'd seen before, a smooth, egg-shaped object covered in pulsating veins of light. Curiosity got the better of him, and he reached out to touch it. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, Alex froze. His eyes widened, and he stumbled backward, clutching his head. I saw something," he stammered, his face pale. "A planet. Stars. But not ours. It was alive." Alina rushed to his side. "What did you see? Tell me." "It wasn't real," Alex whispered, shaking. "But it felt real. Like I was there." The discovery sent shockwaves through the team. If the ship contained devices capable of inducing hallucinations, or perhaps visions, it raised troubling questions. Was the ship testing them, warning them, or simply malfunctioning? Despite the risks, Alina refused to back down. She knew they were onto something monumental. Late at night, she often found herself staring at the glowing symbols, wondering what secrets they still held. What if the aliens hadn't abandoned the ship because it was useless, but because they wanted humanity to prove itself worthy? Her thoughts were interrupted by Dr. Patel, who approached her with new findings. "We've identified a sequence," he said quietly. "If we input it correctly, we might be able to reactivate part of the ship's core." Alina hesitated. Activating the core sounded promising, but also perilous. Still, she couldn't ignore the opportunity. "Let's do it," she said finally, but carefully. As the team prepared for the experiment, none of them realized how much the ship would demand of them, or how far humanity would have to go to unlock its true potential. The team gathered in the heart of the alien ship, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of laptops and tablets. The air was tense with anticipation as they prepared to input the sequence Dr. Patel had discovered. Alina stood at the center, her hands hovering over a panel embedded with glowing symbols. She glanced around at her teammates, some excited, others nervous, but there was no turning back now. "Ready?" she asked, her voice steady despite the knot of anxiety twisting in her stomach. Everyone nodded. With a deep breath, Alina entered the sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the chamber, growing louder and more intense. Lights flickered across the walls, and sections of the ship that had been lifeless for days suddenly sprang to life. Panels lit up, screens displayed streams of data, and faint vibrations rippled through the floor beneath their feet. "We did it," Madeline exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "It's working." But their celebration was short-lived. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the ship, not from the vessel itself, but from devices outside. Confused, Alina stepped onto the deck and froze. In the distance, solar panels on nearby islands were dimming, their energy being siphoned away into thin air. Wind turbines spun slower, then stopped altogether. Even nuclear reactors miles away began shutting down, as if an invisible force was draining them dry. "What's happening?" Marcus demanded, joining her outside. His face was pale as he watched the chaos unfold. "It's the ship," Alina said grimly. "It's absorbing energy from everything." News spread quickly. Within hours, entire cities plunged into darkness. Power grids collapsed under the strain, leaving millions without electricity. Hospitals scrambled to keep generators running, while airports canceled flights due to system failures. Panic erupted worldwide as people demanded answers, and someone to blame. Governments convened emergency meetings, accusing the research team of recklessness. Military leaders called for immediate action, threatening to destroy the ship before it caused further damage. Journalists painted Alina and her team as reckless scientists playing God, ignoring the warnings of those who had urged caution. Alina felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. She had always believed unlocking the ship's secrets would bring humanity closer to greatness. But now she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. Had they unleashed something they couldn't control? Back inside the ship, tensions ran high. Some members of the team argued they should shut everything down immediately, while others insisted they needed to find a way to stabilize the energy flow. Alex Carter, still shaken from his earlier encounter with the strange device, muttered darkly about abandoning the project altogether. "We can't just walk away," Alina snapped, her frustration boiling over. "If we stop now, all this will have been for nothing. We're so close, we just need more time." "But at what cost?" Marcus shot back. "How many lives are we willing to risk for this? People are suffering because of us." Alina didn't have an answer. Instead, she turned her attention to the ship, searching for a solution. Deep within its systems, she found traces of code suggesting the energy absorption wasn't random. It was deliberate. The ship was testing them, pushing humanity to adapt or fail. As the crisis worsened, a shadowy military faction emerged, determined to seize control of the ship. Led by General Grayson, a hardline officer with little patience for scientific exploration, they surrounded the site, demanding access. Their message was clear: either Alina handed over the ship, or they would take it by force. Trapped between global outrage and looming threats, Alina faced the toughest decision of her life. Could she save both the mission and humanity, or would one come at the expense of the other? For the first time since the ship arrived, Alina doubted whether humanity was truly ready for the power it held. But giving up wasn't an option. Not yet. The situation was dire. With cities plunged into darkness and governments threatening to shut down the project, or worse, destroy the ship, Alina knew they were running out of time. But she refused to give up. Every instinct told her that the answers lay deeper within the alien vessel, hidden in its core. If they could find it, they might uncover why the ship was absorbing energy, and how to stop it. Under the cover of night, Alina led a small team deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the ship. Armed with flashlights and portable scanners, they ventured into unexplored sections, their footsteps echoing ominously in the silence. The walls seemed to pulse faintly now, as if alive, guiding them forward, or warning them away. After hours of searching, they stumbled upon a massive chamber unlike anything they'd seen before. At its center floated a crystalline structure suspended in a pool of liquid plasma. It shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting rainbow reflections across the room. The air crackled with energy, making the hair on their arms stand on end. "This must be the core," Alina whispered, her voice filled with awe. She approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the intricate patterns etched into the crystal. They resembled the symbols they'd been decoding, but were far more complex, almost hypnotic. As she studied the core, Mei Lin pointed to a series of holographic projections emanating from it. "Look," she exclaimed. The images depicted star systems, planets, and routes connecting them. A map of the cosmos. "It's a navigation system," Marcus said, his voice trembling with excitement. "This ship wasn't abandoned because it was useless. It was left here for us to reactivate." But there was a catch. As they examined the core more closely, they discovered it required an unimaginable amount of energy to fully power up. The ship had been siphoning power from Earth's resources not out of malice, but necessity. It needed fuel to awaken its true potential. Alina's heart sank. How could humanity possibly provide enough energy without causing global catastrophe? Yet, as she stared at the glowing core, she noticed something else. Faint traces of text embedded in the crystal. Using her tablet, she translated the message. To unlock the stars, prove your worth. The words sent chills down her spine. This wasn't just a machine. It was a test. The aliens hadn't abandoned the ship. They had left it behind as a challenge. If humanity could harness enough energy to activate the core, they would gain access to interstellar travel and untold knowledge. Fail, and the ship would remain dormant forever. We have to do this, Alina said firmly, turning to her team. This isn't just about restoring power to Earth. It's about proving we're ready for what's out there. Her determination inspired the others, but doubts lingered. Could humanity rise to the occasion, or would their greed and division doom them? General Grayson's forces were closing in, and tensions between nations were reaching a boiling point. Time was running out. Late that night, Alina sat alone in the chamber, staring at the pulsating core. She thought about everything they'd sacrificed to get this far, the lives disrupted, the risks taken. Was it worth it? What if activating the core only invited danger instead of opportunity? Her thoughts were interrupted by Alex, who entered quietly. "You think we're ready?" he asked, his voice heavy with uncertainty. "I don't know," Alina admitted. "But I do know one thing. If we quit now, we'll never find out." As dawn broke, the team prepared to share their discovery with the world. They would need every nation, every resource, and every ounce of ingenuity to meet the ship's demands. But even as hope flickered in their hearts, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that passing this test would require more than technology. It would demand unity, sacrifice, and trust. And deep down, she wondered if humanity was truly capable of such greatness. The discovery of the core's message sent shockwaves across the globe. News outlets broadcasted Alina's findings live, showing footage of the glowing crystalline structure and the holographic star maps it projected. The words "to unlock the stars, prove your worth" became a rallying cry and a daunting challenge. For the first time in history, humanity faced a test not just of technology, but of its ability to unite. Alina stood before a panel of world leaders in an emergency United Nations meeting. Behind her, screens displayed diagrams of the ship's energy requirements. "If we can work together," she explained, "we can power the core and activate the ship. But this isn't something one country or corporation can achieve alone. It will take all of us." Her plea was met with both hope and resistance. Some leaders were eager to cooperate, seeing this as humanity's chance to step into the cosmos. Others hesitated, fearing the risks, or questioning whether Earth should trust alien motives. General Grayson, representing military interests, argued that the ship could be weaponized instead of activated. "What if we're playing into their hands?" he growled during the session. "We don't know what these aliens want, or what they'll do when we pass their test." Despite the skepticism, Alina's vision began to take shape. Massive solar arrays were constructed in deserts, wind farms expanded offshore, and experimental fusion reactors were rushed into operation. Nations pooled resources, sharing technology and expertise like never before. Even long-standing rivals set aside their differences, at least temporarily, to focus on the shared goal. But progress came at a cost. Resources grew scarce as materials were diverted to build energy-generating projects. Food shortages hit vulnerable regions, sparking protests and riots. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, fueled by those who believed the ship was a trap designed to exploit humanity's weaknesses. In some cities, crowds gathered outside government buildings, chanting slogans like, "Save our planet, not their spaceship." Amidst the chaos, Alina struggled with self-doubt. Was she pushing too hard? Had she miscalculated the consequences of her actions? Late one night, she confided in Marcus, who had become her closest confidant. "What if we're wrong about this?" she asked, staring out at the swirling ocean from the ship's deck. "What if activating the core doesn't bring unity? It tears us apart." Marcus sighed, leaning against the railing. "Maybe both are true," he said softly. "This isn't just about proving ourselves to the aliens. It's about proving something to each other. Whether we're ready to rise above greed, fear, and division." As weeks turned into months, the effort reached its peak. Solar panels stretched across entire landscapes, capturing sunlight with unprecedented efficiency. Fusion reactors hummed day and night, generating power beyond anything humanity had achieved before. Engineers worked around the clock, connecting everything to the ship through massive conduits that glowed faintly with energy. Yet tensions simmered beneath the surface. A shadowy faction within the military, led by General Grayson, continued to push for control of the project. They planted operatives among the research team, hoping to seize the ship once it was fully powered. Alina caught whispers of their plans but chose to ignore them. For now, her priority was completing the activation sequence. Finally, the day arrived. Energy levels surged toward the threshold required to awaken the core. From space, satellites captured breathtaking images of Earth, lit up like never before, entire continents glowing with artificial light, feeding power into the alien vessel. Elena stood in the core chamber, watching as the crystalline structure pulsed brighter with every passing second. She felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. If they succeeded, humanity would take its first steps into the stars. But failure meant losing everything, and possibly entering forces far greater than themselves. As the final preparations began, Elena took a deep breath. The gamble was risky, but there was no turning back now. Humanity had wagered its future on unlocking the secrets of the cosmos, and only time would tell if they had won or lost. The moment humanity thought it was ready to claim its destiny, the universe reminded them they weren't alone. Just as the final energy conduits connected to the alien ship and a crystalline core began pulsating with an intensity that lit up the entire Pacific Ocean, something extraordinary happened, something no one had anticipated. A fleet of sleek, silver vessels descended from the sky, their movements graceful yet deliberate. They didn't attack or communicate directly at first. Instead, they positioned themselves in orbit around Earth, observing silently. It was clear these ships belonged to the same species that had left the derelict Starship behind. The aliens had returned, not to intervene, but to watch. Panic erupted worldwide. News anchors scrambled to report live updates as military forces scrambled jets and launched satellites for reconnaissance. General Grayson demanded immediate action, insisting the newcomers posed a threat. "They're here to take what's theirs," he barked during an emergency briefing. "We can't let them near the ship." But Elena knew better. She had spent months studying the symbols, deciphering fragments of the alien language embedded in the ship's systems. Her instincts told her this wasn't an invasion, it was a reckoning. These beings were waiting to see if humanity could meet their challenge. Through painstaking effort, the research team managed to establish rudimentary communication using the ship's interface. A holographic projection flickered to life in the core chamber, revealing a figure unlike anything any human had ever seen. Tall and slender, with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid light, the alien spoke through a series of melodic tones translated into fractured English by the ship's system. "You have passed the first trial," the voice said, calm but commanding. "Your efforts demonstrate ingenuity and determination. But know this, not all civilizations succeed where you have begun." Elena stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Why did you leave the ship here?" she asked, her voice steady despite her nerves. The alien tilted its head slightly, as if considering how much to reveal. "The ship is a gift and a test. Across countless worlds, we leave such vessels for those who show potential, those who harness energy responsibly, who overcome division and greed, earn access to the stars. Others do not. The room fell silent. Alina exchanged glances with her team, each word sinking in like a stone dropped into still water. This wasn't just about activating the ship. It was about proving humanity's readiness to join a larger galactic community. But why us? Marcus blurted out, unable to contain his curiosity. Why now? The alien's gaze seemed to pierce through him. Your species stands on the brink of self-destruction. Your wars, your exploitation of resources, your disregard for unity, all threaten your survival. We offer you a path forward, but only if you are willing to change. Before anyone could respond, the hologram flickered again. Beware, the alien warned. The universe is vast and dangerous. Not all who dwell among the stars share our intentions. Should you fail this test, the ship will self-destruct, erasing all traces of its existence. Choose wisely. With that, the projection vanished, leaving the team stunned. Outside, the alien fleet remained in orbit, their presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Humanity had been given a second chance, but at what cost? Elena turned to her team, her expression resolute. We've come too far to turn back now, she said firmly. Whatever happens next, we face it together. As the world watched anxiously, the countdown to full activation resumed. For the first time, humanity realized it wasn't just unlocking a machine, it was stepping onto a stage far bigger than Earth. And somewhere above, the aliens observed silently, their expressions unreadable, leaving everyone to wonder. Were they allies or judges? With the alien fleet watching from orbit and the countdown to full activation underway, tensions aboard the ship reached a boiling point. The team worked tirelessly, fine-tuning the final energy conduits and ensuring every system was stable. But beneath the surface of cooperation, cracks began to form. Cracks that threatened not just the mission, but humanity's fragile unity. Late one night, as Elena reviewed data in the core chamber, an alarm blared through the ship. Red warning lights flashed, and the hum of energy faltered briefly before stabilizing again. Confused, she rushed to the main control hub where Marcus and Madeline were already troubleshooting. What happened? Elena demanded, her voice sharp with concern. Madeline frowned, tapping furiously on her tablet. It's sabotage, she said grimly. Someone tampered with the energy flow. If we hadn't caught it in time, the core could have overloaded and destroyed the ship, and half the Pacific Ocean with it. Elena's blood ran cold. Sabotage. Here, she scanned the room, her eyes narrowing. Everyone present looked shocked, but one person stood out. Alex Carter. His face was pale, his hands trembling slightly as he avoided meeting her gaze. Alex, Elena said firmly, stepping toward him. Did you see anything unusual? He hesitated, sweat beading on his forehead. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered, backing away. But when Elena pressed further, demanding answers, Alex cracked under the pressure. It wasn't me, he shouted, tears welling up in his eyes. They made me do it. They said they'd kill my family if I didn't help. The room fell silent. Elena exchanged a glance with Marcus, who moved quickly to restrain Alex, while Madeline contacted security. It didn't take long for them to uncover the truth. Alex had been working for General Grayson's shadowy military faction all along. Their plan? To seize control of the ship by destabilizing its systems, forcing the research team to hand over access, or risk total destruction. Enraged, Elena confronted General Grayson via video link. You think you can betray us like this? She snapped, her voice shaking with fury. This isn't just your weapon, it's humanity's future. Grayson sneered back at her, unrepentant. Future? This is power, Dr. Vasquez. Power we need to protect ourselves, not give away to some alien test. You're too blinded by your ideals to see the bigger picture. Elena cut the transmission, her mind racing. If Grayson acted now, the entire project could collapse, or worse, lead to war between nations vying for control of the ship. She knew she had to act fast. Summoning her team, Elena devised a risky plan. Using the ship's partially restored systems, they rerouted energy flows to create a protective barrier around the vessel, cutting off external interference, including Grayson's forces. It was a desperate move, but it bought them time. As dawn broke, Elena addressed the remaining crew. "We've been betrayed," she admitted, her voice steady despite the weight of betrayal pressing down on her. "But we can't let fear or greed stop us. This ship isn't just a machine. It's proof that we're capable of more than division and conflict. We owe it to ourselves, and to everyone counting on us, to finish what we started." Her words reignited a spark of determination among the team. Together, they vowed to push forward, even as the cost of their choices grew heavier. Somewhere above, the alien fleet continued to observe silently, their intentions still unclear. Elena couldn't shake the feeling that passing the aliens' test required more than technical skill. It demanded trust, sacrifice, and resilience. And as the final hours ticked away, she wondered if humanity truly understood the stakes, or if they were walking blindly into a cosmic gamble. The final hours before activation were a blur of tension and adrenaline. With General Grayson's forces locked out by the ship's protective barrier, Elena and her team worked feverishly to prepare for what could either be humanity's greatest triumph or its most catastrophic failure. Every decision felt like walking on thin ice, every move a gamble that could tip the scales one way or another. In the core chamber, the crystalline structure pulsed with an intense light, growing brighter with each passing minute as energy coursed through it. The air vibrated with power, making it hard to breathe. Elena stood at the center of the chaos, her tablet in hand, double-checking calculations while Madeline and Marcus coordinated the final adjustments to the energy flow. "We're almost there," Madeline announced, her voice tight with mirrors. "Energy levels are at 90% capacity." Elena nodded but didn't respond. Her mind raced with possibilities. What if they missed something? What if the aliens' test wasn't just about powering the core, but also about how humanity handled itself during the process? She glanced around at her exhausted yet determined team. Despite everything, the sabotage, the global unrest, the looming threat of military intervention, they had refused to give up. That alone gave her hope. As the countdown reached its last 30 minutes, the ship began reacting in ways no one anticipated. Panels along the walls shifted and realigned, revealing hidden mechanisms that hummed with life. Holographic displays flickered to life throughout the vessel, showing star systems, mathematical equations, and strange alien symbols. It was as though the ship itself was awakening, preparing for its next journey. But then came the first sign of trouble. A loud groan echoed through the corridors, followed by violent tremors that shook the entire structure. Equipment toppled over, and several team members stumbled, clutching onto whatever they could find for balance. "What's happening?" Marcus shouted, struggling to keep his footing. "It's the hull," Madeline yelled back, pointing to a monitor displaying structural stress readings. "The energy surge is destabilizing the outer shell." Elena's heart sank. If the hull collapsed under the strain, the entire ship, and everyone inside, would be destroyed. She turned to the control panel, her fingers flying over the interface. "We need to stabilize it. Route excess energy into the shields." Madeline hesitated. "If we do that, we might not have enough power left to fully activate the core." Elena clenched her jaw. There was no time to deliberate. "Do it," she ordered. "We can't finish this if we're dead." With seconds to spare, the team rerouted energy, diverting just enough to reinforce the ship's structure without compromising the core's activation sequence. The tremors subsided, leaving behind an eerie silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, the lights steadied, and the hum of energy returned to a steady rhythm. 10 seconds to full activation, Madeline whispered, her voice trembling. Elena took a deep breath, placing her hands on the glowing console. This was it, the culmination of months of effort, sacrifice, and risk. She glanced at her team one last time. seeing fear, determination, and exhaustion etched on their faces. Whatever happened next, they had faced it together. As the countdown hit 0, the core erupted in a blinding flash of light. The chamber filled with energy so intense it felt alive, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Outside, the ship's exterior transformed, expanding and reshaping itself into a sleek, towering vessel unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Its engines roared to life, sending shockwaves rippling across the ocean. And then, silence. The ship hovered above the water, its presence both awe-inspiring and humbling. Somewhere above, the alien fleet observed silently, their intentions still unclear. Elena stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. Humanity had passed the test, but now came the hardest part, deciding where to go from here. The alien fleet remained in orbit, their ships gliding silently against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. For hours after the activation sequence, they did not move, nor did they communicate further. Humanity held its collective breath, unsure whether the aliens would congratulate them or punish them for daring to step into the stars. Inside the transformed Starship, Elena and her team gathered in the core chamber, their exhaustion giving way to cautious optimism. The crystalline structure now pulsed with a steady rhythm, casting soft waves of light across the room. Around them, holographic displays projected maps of distant galaxies, each marked with coordinates that hinted at unexplored worlds. It was breathtaking and overwhelming. "We did it," Madeline murmured, her voice filled with awe as she traced one of the holograms with her fingers. "We unlocked the stars." But Elena wasn't ready to celebrate just yet. She paced the chamber, her mind racing with questions. What came next? Where should humanity go first? And more importantly, how far were they willing to push themselves to explore the unknown? As if on cue, the alien hologram reappeared before them. This time, its translucent form seemed less enigmatic and more approving. Its melodic tones resonated through the chamber as it spoke. "You have proven your potential," the alien said, its voice calm but firm. "You are no longer bound to your world. The universe awaits, but tread carefully. Not all who dwell among the stars share our benevolence." Elena stepped forward, her expression resolute. "What happens now?" she asked. "Do we leave Earth, explore other planets?" The alien tilted its head slightly, as though considering the question. "That choice is yours," it replied. "But know this, exploration carries risks. There are civilizations older and more advanced than you, some hostile, others indifferent. Your actions will shape your place among them." Before anyone could respond, the hologram shifted, displaying images of alien species, some humanoid, others utterly alien, and scenes of vast space stations, asteroid mining operations, and interstellar battles. The message was clear. Humanity was stepping into a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and dangers. When the projection faded, the team turned to Elena, waiting for guidance. She took a deep breath, realizing the weight of leadership had fallen squarely on her shoulders. "This isn't just about us anymore," she said quietly. "Every decision we make affects billions of people back home, and potentially countless others out there." After much debate, they agreed on a plan. They would launch a reconnaissance mission to nearby star systems, mapping routes and gathering intelligence. At the same time, they would seek peaceful contact with any civilizations they encountered, hoping to forge alliances rather than enemies. But they also prepared for conflict, knowing that trust in the cosmos was often fragile. General Grayson, still stationed outside the ship's protective barrier, demanded access once again, insisting the military needed control over Earth's defense strategy. Elena refused, citing the aliens' warning about unity and responsibility. "If we let fear dictate our actions," she told him bluntly, "we'll lose everything we've worked for." With preparations underway, Elena stood on the deck of the ship, gazing out at Earth below. The planet looked small yet beautiful from this vantage point, a reminder of what they were fighting to protect. As the engines roared to life and the ship ascended into the void, she couldn't help but wonder, was humanity ready for what lay ahead? Or were they simply walking into another trial, one even greater than the last? The alien ship soared into the cosmos, leaving Earth behind like a distant memory. Its engines burned bright against the infinite darkness, illuminating the faces of Elena and her team as they stood on the observation deck, watching their home planet shrink until it became just another speck in the starry expanse. For the first time in human history, humanity had left its cradle and stepped boldly into the unknown. Elena felt a mix of emotions as she stared out at the void. Pride swelled within her chest, knowing that they had achieved something most thought impossible. But alongside pride came doubt. What if they were making a mistake? What if the aliens' gift was less about enlightenment and more about manipulation, testing humanity to see if they could become tools for someone else's agenda? Her thoughts were interrupted by Marcus, who approached with a tablet displaying data from the ship's systems. "We've mapped 3 nearby star systems," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. "One of them has a planet with conditions similar to Earth: water, breathable air, even signs of vegetation." "It's too good to be true," Madeline muttered, glancing over his shoulder. "Why would an advanced species leave such a valuable resource unclaimed?" Elena nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe it's another test," she said softly. "Or maybe it's bait." Her words hung heavy in the air. The team exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that every discovery they made would come with risks. Still, they couldn't ignore the opportunity. After hours of discussion, they decided to investigate the planet cautiously, sending probes ahead to gather information before risking a landing. As days turned into weeks, the ship traveled deeper into space, encountering wonders beyond imagination. Nebulas shimmered like cosmic jewels, pulsars blinked like lighthouses in the dark, and asteroid fields stretched endlessly, hiding secrets beneath their rocky surfaces. Each new sight filled the crew with awe, but also reminded them how small and fragile they truly were. Then came the encounter that changed everything. While passing through a remote sector, the ship detected a signal, a faint but deliberate transmission. It wasn't random noise. It carried patterns reminiscent of the symbols etched into the ship's walls. Could it be another piece of alien technology, or a message from an unknown civilization? When they traced the signal to its source, they found a derelict vessel drifting silently in the void. Unlike the sleek design of the ship they now called home, this one was jagged and scarred, its surface pocked with damage. As they boarded it, they discovered remnants of a once great society, records of wars fought over resources, alliances betrayed, and civilizations consumed by greed. Elena stared at the ruins, her heart heavy with realization. The universe wasn't just vast, it was dangerous. Humanity's journey wouldn't end with exploration. It would demand vigilance, wisdom, and unity. And yet, despite the risks, she knew they couldn't turn back. Back aboard their ship, Elena addressed her team. "This is only the beginning," she said firmly. "Every step we take teaches us something, not just about the stars, but about ourselves. We can't control what's out there, but we can decide who we want to be." As the ship continued onward, heading toward new horizons, Elena looked out at the endless expanse of stars. Somewhere among them lay answers and challenges that would define humanity's legacy. Whether they rose to meet those challenges or faltered remained to be seen. Far above, the alien fleet watched silently, their expressions unreadable. Had they guided humanity toward greatness, or set them on a path fraught with peril? Only time would tell.